Lovely. Morning, folks. Thank you for having me this morning. So, as you've just heard, my name is Daniel. I'm the operations manager at Matatiki Toyota, the art centre. And as part of the presentations this morning, we were asked to answer 3 questions for you. What's your job and what does it entail? What do you love about it? And I've thrown my own question in there as well, which is what are the challenges of it? And how did you get it? So to start with, what is my job as operations manager at the art centre? It's a very diverse role, but first and foremost, I am responsible for the care and maintenance of the largest complex of heritage buildings in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have 23 buildings on site at the art centre, 21 of which are listed as Category 1 historic places by Heritage New Zealand. Those 21 buildings are all Gothic Revival stone buildings, so they're very distinct, but quite a common style of architecture in Christchurch, similar to the cathedral, as you can see out the window. They were built between 1873 and 1917, so they range from 100 to 150 years old. And buildings of that age obviously bring with them some challenges for looking after. Those challenges were compounded further, obviously, by the earthquakes. All 23 of them were damaged, some seriously damaged, and one of those buildings collapsed entirely. So the last 11 years for the Art Centre have very much been about restoration and, in one case, rebuild. That means that I have to work with people from a lot of different trades and have to manage people from a lot of different trades. So at the moment, I'm working with engineers, stonemasons, bricklayers, carpenters, painters and decorators, archaeologists, electricians, you name it, we're working with them on the rebuild. As well as looking after the buildings, those buildings are also open to the public. So another part of my job is to look after those members of the public that come and visit our site. I manage a team of visitor hosts and volunteers who are there to welcome the public onto our site and show them around. I'm responsible for the health and safety of people visiting our site. I also manage the grounds maintenance team who are responsible for making sure that the art centre is a clean and attractive environment for people to come to. And one of the particular challenges of this is that although the buildings are 100 to 150 years old, we have to ensure that they contain facilities appropriate to 2022. So that has meant in the last few years putting wheelchair ramps and lifts into 150-year-old stone buildings, not an insignificant challenge. We have quite a diverse range of visual and performing arts in our programs at the Art Centre, and we also have venues for hire that people can use for weddings and community art performances and whatever they like. That means that me and my team are responsible for making sure the AV equipment works. We're also responsible for designing and curating a number of exhibitions at the Arts Centre. We've got 2 on the go at the moment, which should be, the first one of which should be finished by the end of this year. But the real challenge of all of this is that we have to do it with no government funding whatsoever. The Art Centre receives nothing from council or from central government, and we are therefore responsible for raising all of our own money through applying for charitable grants, but also through leasing out a lot of our buildings to businesses. We have a wide range of businesses at the Art Centre. You'll probably be aware of some of them. They range from retailers, there's a cinema, a dance school, restaurants, artist studios, a tattoo studio, quantity surveyors, a hotel recently opened, the university, in fact, is one of our tenants. So what that means for my job is that I occasionally have to behave like a real estate agent, and more frequently than that have to be a landlord. So as you can see, it's a really diverse job. And that really is the answer to the second question we were asked today. What do you love about your job? I love the diversity of my job. Every day is different. In the last week, for example, I have written a health and safety report for our board. I've showed prospective tenants around one of our buildings that's available for lease. I have inspected architectural drawings for a new bridge that's going to link 2 of our buildings. I stayed the night in the new hotel to test it out. I met with our Maori Advisory Committee to plan one of the 2 exhibitions that we've got coming up. I have laid out objects that were found by the archaeologists working at site recently to go into a display case. I've shown some visitors around the observatory tower, and I have appointed some consultants to update our conservation plan, all just in the last week. The diversity of the job is also what's challenging about the job, though. you cannot possibly be expert in all of those things that I have just listed. There's just no chance of being able to be across all of those things. So the real challenge of it is that you have to work with colleagues and contractors who do specialize in those areas, and you have to trust those people to get on with their jobs. Delegating effectively is a key skill of any manager. So if you've got aspirations to be in management in heritage one day, practice your delegation skills. My absolute favorite thing about the work that I do is that we do it for the public. We work with the public, and everything we do is for them. That's why all of these institutions exist. We don't collect for the sake of collecting in museums. We don't exhibit for the sake of exhibit. We don't perform if we're in the arts for the sake of performing. And we don't conserve and protect our heritage buildings for their own sake. We do it for our communities. We do it so that people can visit these things and can find these things rewarding and can have experiences. And I personally find that really rewarding. It's not about the money or the work-life balance or any of those things. It's about the rewards of working with members of the public and seeing the smiles on people's faces when they visit your heritage building or have a look around your museum or stand in front of a painting in the art gallery. That's the real reward. I can give you a couple of examples. At the Art Centre, we didn't just restore those buildings for their own sake. When the observatory tower collapsed in the 2011 earthquake, we could have just cleared it away and left it and kept some photos. But we decided to rebuild it for the people of Canterbury to visit and to use and to be proud of. The final question we were asked to answer is, how did you get to your job? And my career to date has been quite a broad one. And I think the lesson that I want you to take away from my talk, and probably from some of the other talks, is that there isn't just one way to get into heritage. There's a whole different range of ways to get in. I studied archaeology and ancient history at university, not because I wanted to be an archaeologist or a historian, but actually because I had no idea what I wanted to do, and so I figured that I might as well just study something interesting. A lesson that I learned from this and that I would pass on to all of you is that you're still very young. You don't need to have figured out yet what it is that you want to do. If you're unsure, don't panic. You have got plenty of time to try things out and see what's interesting and to change course and to just figure it out, figure what suits you. After finishing my studies, I managed to get a job at a small museum close to where I lived as a visitor host, so I was working front of house, and I did that job for 3 years, meeting visitors, greeting visitors, showing visitors around. It's a really great way of getting introduced to the heritage sector, to be a visitor host at a museum or a gallery or a heritage centre, because you're immediately thrown into that deep end of working with the public. You have contact with them every single day. You get to know what it is that they like, why they're coming to your heritage centre, and you can carry that with you when you move through your career later. It's a really great lesson to learn at the beginning. It comes with its challenges as well. Working with the public can be difficult at times. I once had a gentleman walk into the museum and up to the reception desk and ask me where the bar was. I had to tell him that this was a museum and also that it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I got that job as a visitor host, though, not because I had a degree in archaeology and ancient history. That was irrelevant. I got that job because I was able to demonstrate customer service skills that I had picked up whilst working in a supermarket on Saturdays during my studies. And I think that's a really key lesson that I would give you all as well. Any experience, any work experience, is better than no work experience. You will pick up transferable skills from any kind of work or volunteering that you can do. So I would really encourage you to try and get a Saturday job or to go and do some volunteering. It will help you along the way. I'll never forget in my interview being asked how I dealt with difficult customers and being able to tell them the story about the time I worked in the supermarket on Christmas Eve and we'd run out of turkeys and had to deal with a lot of disgruntled people. A couple of years in, the museum was struggling a little bit and they decided to close on Mondays, which meant that I lost a day of work. But my next lesson would be that you can turn negative things into positives. I took that day that I had taken away from me, and I volunteered to work in the museum's collections at that point. And it was that volunteering to work in the collections that introduced me to the back of house side of things in museums. And from there, I moved into a job as a curator. So you can be positive and take opportunities, and it will have rewards for you. From that job as a curator, I was then able to get more work experience in a much broader and more diverse range of jobs in museums and heritage. And from there, I moved to New Zealand and first worked at Canterbury Museum and now at the Art Centre. So the buzzer just went, so I better wrap up. But to conclude, if you don't know what you want to do yet, don't panic, you've got time. Get some work experience, and we're looking for volunteers at the Art Centre, so come and talk to me during morning tea if you are interested in that. Be positive and be proactive. Look for new opportunities to grow. Thank you.